Vikings did not use it on quarterback Sam Darnold. Adam Schefter reporting that the team is, though, still interested in re-signing him. He had a career year in his one season in Minnesota. But the Vikings also have former first-round pick J.J. McCarthy waiting in the wings. NFL analyst and our former quarterback Tim Hasselbeck joins us now. So what's your reaction to the Vikings' decision to not tag Darnold?
You know, in some ways, Hannah, I'm not surprised because, it sounded like they want to build around J.J. McCarthy. But look, for me, I would have made the decision to tag Darnold. Really would have made the decision to build around Sam Darnold. Just 27 years old. He threw 35 touchdowns last year. He can play. And so I just would say for Sam Darnold going forward, I'm a team like the Raiders, the Indianapolis Colts, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Tennessee Titans, anybody that needs a quarterback, I would be very interested in trying to figure out if doing a deal with Sam Darnold makes sense. Because at his age, what he's, the adversity that he's played through, what he proved that he could do a year ago, I think he's worth building around.
Yeah, and he was in the perfect place, and they benefited as well from his presence. 14 wins, second most in team history in a season. All right, let's go to another really interesting offseason question. The Jets continued their makeover under new head coach Aaron Glenn. Rich Cimini reporting they're releasing receiver Davante Adams and allowing fellow wideout Allen Lazard to seek a trade. New York already said it's cutting ties with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, both those receivers were brought in because of him. Adams just lasting 11 games with the Jets. And you would think, Tim, that there could be a good half a dozen teams out there at least that could use somebody like Davante Adams. Who do you think makes sense?
Well, I think there are a few teams that make sense. I think the San Francisco 49ers make sense. They just traded away a really good, wide receiver. I think that returning to the Green Bay Packers could potentially make sense. I think there are plays, like you said it, Hannah, there are going to be a lot of teams interested in veteran wide receivers. Now, it's a pretty good group of veteran wide receivers that, will be on the market. Chris Godwin, maybe Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, guys like that. And so I think it'll be crowded, but I think there will be a landing spot for Davante Adams. And I say it in part two because, look, I think at this point he knows he's not a number one wide receiver. At the same time, there's still a lot of production value there. And then I think it's always important for a team to have guys in your wide receiver room that are pros, that know how to approach, that know how to prepare. And that's important. And so I think that the market will be strong for Davante Adams and other veteran wide receivers.
And he's seen all the highs and lows, hasn't he, in the NFL, right? From the highs in Green Bay to tough times in Vegas to the situation with the Jets, experienced in a lot of ways, including those 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Tim, thank you. Back with Tim in just a bit as he returns to talk about the quarterback carousel and which quarterback makes the most sense for the Steelers.
All right, to the NFL and the Eagles rewarding Saquon Barkley for his record-setting season, giving him a 2-year, $41.2 million extension that makes him the highest-paid running back in NFL history. Barkley had 2,504 rushing yards last year, including the playoffs, setting a league record. More importantly, Philly won the Super Bowl.
Couldn't have done it without him, Jay. Meanwhile, the Cowboys have made some moves. Todd Archer reporting that they have restructured the contract of receiver C.D. Lamb, creating about $20 million in salary cap space, which they could certainly use. They agreed to a 4-year, $80 million deal with defensive tackle Osa Odigizua. They made the deal before he hit free agency, or they had to use a franchise tag. He had his best season last year and was rewarded. Let's bring Tim Hasselbeck back in. What should the Cowboys' biggest priority? I know they have a lot of needs, but in your estimation, what's number one this offseason?
Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of things that need to get done. I mean, look, clearly they need to work things out with Micah Parsons. Outside of that, I would look at their offensive line. I think that addressing the offensive line, through free agency, and then when you get to the draft, probably drafting a running back, I think, and improving at that position. It's the position that can impact your season and team the most, just based, purely on the number of times somebody can touch the football. And so obviously in this year's draft with Ashton Jante, as being the top-rated guy, or Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina being another, hot name in the running back market, I do think that that could change things drastically, where just the design and feel of your offense would be different, because you could then be, more of a run emphasis team, which would help a team which is got quite a lot of needs.
Yeah, I mean, Genty certainly could be there at 12. And Tim, if we just 1 year ago, what were we saying the Cowboys needed to do in free agency? They needed to get that running back. They never addressed that last season, that running game, and they really paid for it. All right, let me ask you about another team with some questions, specifically at the position that you played in the NFL. So now Sam Darnold joins this free agent class. We have Justin Fields, Russ Wilson out there. They're free agents. No one is signed in Pittsburgh. What should they do?
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh has expressed their desire to bring, one of those quarterbacks that they had last year back. And look, where I sit, they decided to go with Russell Wilson a year ago. So if I'm Justin Fields, I wouldn't want to return there. So to me, the answer in Pittsburgh ends up being Russell Wilson. Bring him back. And then I would say this, you got to get him help. A similar team, like running back can be addressed. Obviously, work up front can be done. But I think Russell Wilson, because they've expressed their desire to bring a quarterback back from a year ago, he would be the guy. And then I think in free agency, with the expectation that Cooper Kupp gets released by the Rams, Cooper Kupp would be a nice addition. George Pickens is a guy that's shown unbelievable flashes, primarily as a guy that plays outside. I think Cooper Kupp, much like I talked about Davante Adams in terms of the preparation, being a pro, the maturity in the wide receiver room, the toughness, the grit, but then also still a level of production that will help your football team, I think that would be a pretty good match as well.
Yeah, listen, they were looking for that receiver, that number 2 receiver all season last year, and they just couldn't find the right person. They also have pick number 21 in the draft, which will be interesting. The draft is less than 2 months away, so it's mock season. And our Jordan Reed has a fresh new 2-round version out on ESPN.com. And it starts with a bang. Let's stay with New York. Why not? The Giants trading their 3rd overall pick along with pick number 34 to the Titans to move up to number 1 overall, where they take Miami quarterback Cam Ward. New York needs that franchise quarterback. Ward and Shedeur Sanders, just the 2 of them projected to go in the 1st round. Who knows? Moving up very well may be the way to go. We've heard the Titans say they're taking all callers as we welcome Jordan Reed in now, along with Giants reporter Jordan Renan. So, Jordan, let's start with you. What are you hearing about the options that the Giants are exploring with that quarterback situation?
Yeah, Hannah, there's a lot of talk this time of year, right? And after missing out on Matthew Stafford, multiple league sources told me after meeting with the Giants last week, they came away with the impression that the Giants were likely to make a move and trade up for that number 1 pick. In that scenario, it would be for Miami quarterback Cam Ward. He's considered the top option by most teams. At least that's the way it seemed in Indianapolis. And the thing is, you listen to Joe Shane, and he talked last week, and he said he's willing to take that big swing at quarterback. Obviously, he did it with Matthew Stafford. Now he moves on. That option is gone. On to play.